14 years old. She's very pretty, very smart, and has a great personality. She goes to church. She's in the youth choir. She's also one of the most popular students at her school. And oftentimes it seems like her classmates are competing for her attention and for friendship. Even the teachers admire her. Katie knows that she is pretty and smart, and she admits that she enjoys being the center of attention at times. She has a small circle of friends who are very loyal to her. One day, a new student shows up in their class. Her name is Madeline. Madeline seems rather shy and doesn't talk very much. That's because she has a rare bone disease, which has damaged her legs and her spine, making it impossible for her to stand up or even walk. So Madeline is in a wheelchair. Many of her classmates feel a little uncomfortable around her. And as a result, she's often seen alone in the class, eating her lunch while the other students are outside. And if she's talking to anybody, it's usually one of the teachers who seem to be more attentive to her needs. One day, Katie is with her friends, and the subject of Madeline comes up. Their comments are not very kind. And they seem to suggest that Madeline shouldn't be there in school because of her special needs. They even laugh about her physical appearance. But something in Katie's heart tells her this is not right. She feels compassion for Madeline and has wondered how difficult it might be for Madeline to get through each day. Over time, she makes the decision to spend more time with Madeline. She sits behind her now in class to help her. She has lunch with her. And her time with Madeline causes some of her friends to feel jealous. And they even suggest that maybe Katie should not be their friend anymore because of the attention she's giving to, quote, that girl in the wheelchair. Katie becomes close to Madeline. Each day she moves further and further away from her old friends as she establishes a new friendship with Madeline. Katie is learning what it means when Jesus says, love your neighbor. Oscar is 32 years old and was recently paroled from prison. He grew up in a poor neighborhood and eventually joined a gang. His arms and legs are covered with tattoos. At the age of 22, he participated in an armed robbery. He was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Now, Oscar is trying to get his life together. He's been searching for work since he was released from prison, but without much success. He knows that he's probably being judged on the basis of his record and his intimidating looks. Finally, though, Oscar lands a job at the new Amazon distribution center that has just opened in town. He's overjoyed at the prospect of having a job and earning some honest money. He's even able to save money so that he can find an apartment for himself, even though it's not in the best part of town. Now he's trying to get his driver's license renewed so that he doesn't have to take the bus everywhere. One day he meets another man named Hector, who's living in the same apartment complex, only a few doors down. They begin talking and discover that they both work at the Amazon distribution center. They also discover that they've had their share of problems. Hector's wife left him after he was taking drugs. As they begin their new friendship, Hector offers Oscar a ride to and from work each day. On their way to and from work, they talk about many different things. And then Hector invites Oscar to come over on Saturday nights, where he has some friends over for a game of poker. Oscar says, I don't know how to play poker. But Hector says, don't worry, we'll teach you. For the first time, Oscar feels that he has found a good friend in Hector. He has a desire even to do something for God as a result of the changes he's experiencing in his life. Oscar will learn what it means to love God because Hector has practiced what it means to love your neighbor. Margaret is 82 years old. She lives in the house that she and her husband bought 40 years ago. But since her husband died, Margaret has been quite alone and lonely. Her children and her grandchildren, well, they're busy with their lives and don't visit her very often. Margaret has become bitter over the years and is not exactly the kindest neighbor. She regularly complains about the kids running through the neighborhood, the water that's left running on someone's lawn, the barking dog, anything else that she finds annoying. And as a result, Margaret has earned a reputation for being the grumpy old lady. And the neighbors pretty much keep their distance. One day as Margaret is walking to the mailbox, she trips and falls. And Eileen, a young wife and mother living across the street, sees this. She runs out of her home to help Margaret. She helps Margaret walk back to her home and says, "I'm calling the ambulance." But Margaret tells Eileen, "Just leave me alone. I don't want to go to the hospital. I'm okay." But Eileen insists. And when the ambulance arrives, the medics tell Margaret they will take her to get her checked out. She begins to cry, but Eileen assures her, "Margaret, I'll follow you with my car." After Margaret's ankle is examined and taped, she returns home with Eileen. Eileen takes her into her home. She notices that Margaret's home is very clean and well kept. She also notices there are a lot of photos of Margaret's husband around the house. She says, "Margaret, I'll bring you dinner tonight." But again, Margaret protests and says, "I don't mean to be cruel, but mind your own business." But Eileen insists. And about 5:30, Eileen knocks on the door and walks into Margaret's home. She notices that Margaret is still sitting at the same place where Eileen left her. She helps Margaret to the small kitchen table she has and gives her the meal that she has prepared. She's also brought Margaret a cane so that she can have some assistance when walking. Eileen continues to bring Margaret food every day for a week. She even sits at the table with Margaret to keep her company while she's eating. Slowly, Margaret begins to enjoy Eileen's company. They even talk about their families and other things they have in common. Over time, Margaret's ankle heals, but something else is healing. She's not so grumpy. She still wears the same old scowl on her face. But when she sees Eileen, she smiles. She often asks, "How are your children? How's your family?" Margaret is learning what it means to be loved again, because Eileen knows what it means to love your neighbor. Final story. A man is watching TV in the evening, trying to unwind from his workday. He decides to watch the news to see what's happening in the world. And after watching it for a while, he says, "Not good. War, disease, political ads, fires, crime. Where does it all end?" he wonders. Then a commercial airs, one that he and other viewers have seen hundreds of times. It's about St. Jude's Hospital, which treats children who have cancer and other life-threatening illnesses. He sees the children, a little boy without hair, another child without a leg, a cute little girl with a noticeable scar where she had brain surgery. He feels sadness over the plight of these little ones. He says to himself, "It's so unfair." But he decides that this is something he can support, and he signs up to donate $20 a month. He doesn't know any of the children he sees in the commercial. He doesn't even know any children who are sick, the terminal illness. But he is practicing what Jesus has taught. Love your neighbor. These simple stories demonstrate how easy it really is to practice love of neighbor. When Jesus was asked by the religious leaders, what's the greatest commandment? Jesus says, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and then love your neighbor as yourself. It's easy to say that we love God, the God we cannot see. But what does that mean? Unless we can demonstrate it by loving people who we do see. And who is our neighbor? The people who live around us, the people we work with, the people whose lives intersect with ours at any time, those who are distant from us. Loving our neighbor doesn't mean that we have to be heroic. It simply means that we are willing to meet people where they are, to take an interest in them, to assist them if necessary, to care for them. In very simple ways, we can fulfill what Jesus says is the greatest commandment. And then we will find our way into heaven.